Hey everybody! Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. I am, of course, Janet McMahon, and most every week I get to um, be joined by amazing therapists, practitioners, coaches, all sorts of amazing people who are all on the mission to help us thrive. So I'm so excited to be here today with Sherry Hess. Oh man, I feel like every time we've talked, I feel like I could talk to you forever. You have such I just love what you do. So I'm so excited for y'all to get to meet her. Sherry, is the video on your end okay? Can you see me okay?
You look a little blurred on my end.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we got to figure out our signal over here, but that's all right. We're gonna just keep rolling. So y'all, thank you so much for joining us. Sherry, thank you so much for being here. It's such a treat to have you. Oh, treat.
How appropriate. Thank you for it's a treat to be here.
And you look so cute. I wish I should have this is for my shoulders. I don't know. I have nothing fun costume wise. I should grab something. But it's so fun to have you. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to start out by sharing what you do, tell us about what you do. Who are
you? Thank you. And this Halloween thing was very improv for me. I kind of woke up, just kind of feeling cranky, and I was like, it's Halloween. I can be as witchy as I want. So
you sure can.
With it, and it helped my mood. So it was awesome.
I love it. Any day. You can do it any day.
So I am Sherry Hess, and I am the founder of the Flavor Remedy. And the Flavor Remedy is something that has kind of come about, from this long, winding entrepreneurial journey. Most people, if people are familiar with me in the last couple of years, they might know me as the legendary Spice Girl. Mm-hmm. And, that was kind of again, part of my history. Really, food has been kind of part of what I do forever. And it kind of showed up in Legendary Spice as this opportunity to be able to create spice blends that were kind of reflected my culinary background and also the health journey that I had been on, right? So, more and more we're hearing these stories about people that are not getting answers from their doctors, which is why we have this holistic community. So they're finding other ways. And I was a classic example of using food to heal and also supplements. And I was already on this path of really being passionate and, kind of fired up about what's been happening to our food system. So I eventually created the Spice Company, which was kind of a combination of, like I said, the flavors of culinary and also the benefits of all the things that you get when you eat or take herbs and spices. So turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, and then some of the more kind of out there herbs and spices like ashwagandha and, the things that just we're using to heal, but we're not necessarily putting them on our food. You can walk through the spice aisles through the supplement aisles in the grocery stores and find all these, amazing plants basically that are in a capsule. And I kind of was like, well, why aren't we just putting it in our food, right? Mm-hmm. Having the culinary background, that became my passion. Mm-hmm. So, Legendary Spice was awesome, and I have a lot of good big fans, you being one of them, which is really cool.
So good.
Thank you.
The spices are amazing. They're so good.
Thank you. And I still love them. But unfortunately, what kind of happens in the world of food, the food industry is very, very kind of cutthroat, really tough as far as, being able to manufacture things. And, obviously they have to be manufactured in safe environments. And in order for me to kind of grow that business in a way that would have been a successful business, I would have needed to really invest a whole lot of time and money into the manufacturing side of things. And I just wasn't willing to do that. And what happened then was, and I actually figured this out as I was branding Legendary Spice, was that the bigger picture here is not just the spices. It's really about flavor and all of the things that our food is designed to do for us. And, I kind of had this big aha that why aren't we listening to our sense of taste, right? Like, I call myself the advocate of the underdog sense of taste, because we tend to put a lot of priority and a lot of significance on our other senses. Like obviously, our sense of sight is critical, and our sense of hearing, and these things that we trust so deeply in what our senses are telling us. But when it comes to our sense of taste, we're like not really necessarily giving it a lot of reverence in what it's doing for us and what it's telling our bodies. So the flavor remedy is, that's kind of a long story of how I got to it, but it really is an attempt to raise awareness around what our bodies are telling us when we experience flavor. And, ultimately it'd be really nice to say, well, we really should just be able to eat what tastes good. And of course, we can't do that because of all of the things that has happened to our food. And, there's a lot of science, food science around, not only the manipulation of how our food has been grown and raised, but also in the process of that, food has become less flavorful. And in the wellness communities, we hear a lot of people talking about how food doesn't have the same nutrition that it used to, right? It doesn't have the same nutrients. You can't just eat vegetables and have it be enough anymore. People are suggesting supplements. They're suggesting more minerals, more vitamins, additional things that we need to stay healthy, right? And for good reason, because of what's happened to our food. But my the perspective that I really kind of want to bring to this is, well, the food doesn't taste good anymore. The food doesn't have the minerals anymore because the soils are depleted. And, ultimately, I feel like if we can get the flavor back up, that means the nutrients are back up. And then we're also, kind of fixing the soils at the same time. So I got big, visions for what I
love
do in the world. But really, it comes down to we aren't trusting our bodies. We're not listening to our bodies, and we're not really giving enough reverence to the flavors that our bodies experience. So starting the conversations around salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and umami, which are the 5 kind of basic flavors that we experience, is kind of where I'm going with this, and talking about the nutrition that should be behind that, and the flavor, what the flavors are doing, and what they represent when you eat them.
Yeah, well, I love that when you speak about like not giving reverence to taste. Like, do you feel like because of like what you're mentioning, like our foods, the quality of our food essentially these days, and all the processed foods and all of the, is it synthetic? I don't know if that's the right word. Synthetic flavors and all these things. Like it's
I usually use
messy. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, you did.
Usually use I kind of generalize it all as manufactured flavors because, part of what has happened in the food industry is, we put the red flag up about artificial flavors, right? So we all don't want to consume artificial flavors now. So now they call everything natural flavors, where natural flavors are still manufactured flavors. It's not like they're sweetening it with real vanilla, with real fruit juices, unless it says it in the ingredients or anything like that. It's all still a manufactured flavor. It's just manufactured from a food instead of manufactured from pure chemicals. So it's still not true to what it should be.
Right. So then with that piece, like I'm curious what you think about this, and something I think about a lot is just when people say like, oh, I just like what they're craving, right? Like they're craving, like people crave what, like it's not like people are necessarily craving what our bodies need anymore. Like we've gotten like off base. So like we're craving the chemicals, right, from the manufactured flavors, I'm guessing.
That does happen. And so that's part of the conversation that I want to kind of bring to light too, is that, the manufactured flavors, they know how to really make you want to keep eating, right? And keep that whole idea of you can't eat just one, right? When it comes to chips or snacks or crackers. And I experience that. Like, I think everybody experiences that, whether it's a cookie or whether it's, the chip or the pretzel or whatever. Like you start eating it and you keep eating it and eating it and eating it, right? So there's the food science people understand what happens between the brain and the tastes. And, the conversations that I really want to bring around cravings is, kind of twofold. One is that when we have cravings, our bodies are telling us something, right? It might not be the right thing, but we have to ask why, right? So in the case of those snacks and those things that are, kind of keep you going back for more, we have to start with, why are we reaching for it?
Mhm.
What is it that this is initiating this craving? Is it a lack of energy? Is it, a need to feel stronger? Is it, do I feel like my systems are kind of weakened? What are the things that make me grab this? And then are you actually asking yourself, is this thing satisfying your craving? Because the reason we keep going back for more is because the desire
Mhm.
greater than the satisfaction. So what's
Sure.
actually happening when, is you're never getting satisfied because
Right.
there's no nutrition in it. Craving
Right.
sweet and you're just eating sugar that doesn't have all the other nutrients and the bitter flavors and the sour flavors and the other things that should come packaged in a sweet thing naturally.
Mhm.
Your body's never satisfied. So you just keep reaching and reaching and reaching. And of course,
Mhm.
there's emotional aspects to eating, there's cultural aspects to eating, there's so much to it. But, for me, elevating the conversation around flavor it's critical
Mm.
and it's personal, right? So it's what's right for you as opposed to what's right for the person next to you and all the people listening to this interview, right? Like part of what I love about this messaging is that you can choose whatever diet path you want. If you feel like the trend of vegan or paleo or keto or whatever it is that you feel works for your body, flavor still is relevant.
Mhm.
Flavor is always what we choose, right? We
Mhm.
always guided to eat by flavor. That'll never change. So if we're
Sure.
not paying attention to,
Mhm.
are those flavors actually indicating what the nutrition is? I mean, we're born with these instincts,
Mhm.
right? We're
Right.
born with this messaging, and we're just like, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Trying to
Well,
change that.
yeah, it's so interesting too, though, when you talk about that piece, because I hear people all the time, like, I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I have nutrition is a huge passion of mine, and food cures and nutrition related to mental health, like all of it is such a huge passion. But it's so interesting because I hear people, I mean, there's such a language around healthy eating and like, oh, like it doesn't taste good, or oh,
Right.
it's like,
Yes.
so like, yeah, I'm curious, like, what do you think about, like, what's your answer be to that? If someone's like, oh, healthy food doesn't taste good.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much wrapped up in that statement, right? So part of it is what we already talked about, the fact that like vegetables and carrots and, things that are being grown, even if they're organic, they're being grown in soils that are depleted of the minerals and everything. They might not have the pesticides and everything on it, but so vegetables don't taste the same. Even the meats like chicken and everything's been grown and modified to meet our demands of shipping it across the country and making sure it's shelf stable and making sure that the tomato that's grown in California gets across to New Jersey and it's still not bruised and covered in wax and shiny, right? Like we're just not even thinking about the the source and the reason why those things don't taste good. So that's part of it. The
Mm-hmm.
other part of it is that I think there's a lot of misinformation around um, sweetness in general. I mean, we're dealing with this kind of crisis of, again, the processed foods, the available sugars, sweetness being kind of like this only known flavor that people know. Pretty much, if you talk about flavor now, people just know salty and sweet. They don't even understand how to find sour, how to look for bitter, why that even matters.
Mm-hmm.
So the relevance of what people are experiencing is very shallow. They're not that bitter flavors can be this really fun thing that you're experiencing, or that a little bit of sourness can make you not want all that salt on your
Mm-hmm.
like everything up your taste buds can make a big difference. So to that answer of healthy food not tasting good, like I would have proved that wrong, like in every way. Spices and herbs are a big part of making it really easy to make healthy food taste good, because we are dealing with kind of these flat flavors in what's happened to our food.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's a I don't know if I want to say myth, because I don't want to not validate how people feel about what they're eating, but they also don't know the options that are out there,
Mhm.
and don't understand how they can make food taste good.
Yeah, right. And the healing properties of it, right? I remember when I had the honor, I mean, the gift, honor, I don't know, whatever. I got to hear you speak. um, our Sherry and I are both in a women's networking group, and that's how I got to meet Sherry. And she spoke. It's almost a year ago now.
Yeah, it is almost a year ago.
I loved your talk. I mean, every single month we have a speaker, and we have amazing speakers, but yours just it stands out to me.
Oh, thank you.
And I remember you speaking about, and I hope I don't butcher this, because I remember you handing out this really cool. It was like a bookmark of the different flavors. Is that the right word?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'll make sure I'm using the right words. And I remember you, because like when I feel like too, and I hope I'm not like derailing this. I'm curious. As you're talking about this piece, like when we are flavoring our foods, and like there is this push I feel sometimes around. Like I hear people say all the time, like, oh well, I can't. Like they think salt is bad for them, or like because of this whole sodium thing, because all the processed foods full of sodium. So that's right. I mean,
exactly.
Like, good, but like also I loved how you talked about that piece of like that whole, like you said, like I remember you talking about bitter, and like how you're just touching on that too, and just how when you're using like a perfect balance of all of them, like that it tastes, I mean, it's like that's how we're designed to be. I'm sorry, I'm completely butchering this, but am I like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I think I know. So I think what you're referring to is, the 5 flavors. So salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and umami. And you can go deeper. There are more flavors if you go into Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine. So, that is cool wisdom to bring in. But just for now, the 5. So yeah, so sweetness is really, something that you look for when you need energy. And sour is something that supports your digestive system. It's the presence of acidity. Salty is really more than, like you said, just the sodium. The flavors of salt, and the reason we crave it is because of more than just the sodium. Like it's all minerals. It's a flavor that is supposed to be supportive of our functions, of our systems. And, when it gets so far out of balance with the salt and the sodium, it's the lack of balance that makes it unhealthy. Happens when people start, like holding on to water and all the things. So, there's definitely real concerns around salt with some people, but we need to be asking why, right? Not just, demonizing the whole thing. Yeah. And you can get a lot of minerals and salts without pouring, white salt on your. You can get the without pouring just the bad, bleached, non-nutritious salts on your food. And then bitter is, I always like to describe bitter as like, if you think of it like a bitter pill to swallow, right? So medicine itself, if you think of it, a spoonful of sugar, like Mary Poppins says, makes the medicine go down, which is another great phrase, because when you have bitter, you can balance it with other flavors, so it's not so off-putting. But what bitter does is it detoxifies. It's like medicine for your body. And it also helps like regulate the blood sugar levels. And there's so much about bitter that we need in our bodies. But on the same realm of medicine, too much medicine is not good for you either. So, that's why if you eat too much bitter, you don't like it. Or the other thing that happens with bitter flavors is they actually help satiate your body. So you're eating something that's sweet that has bitter incorporated with it, like a piece of fruit that has a little bitter on the skins or the seeds, or, you're getting that with your orange or your piece of fruit, which is the sweetness that you immediately think of. And it creates this feeling of being satisfied and satiated because you're getting that kind of medicine, and your body's like, okay, that's enough. I don't need any. So, it's part of that listening to your body and also honoring all the flavors. So did I cover the sour, sweet, bitter? Oh, umami is the other one. That one is really just the presence of like protein, and go on and on about that too. But yeah, simple. The umami flavor is like that meaty, savory kind of flavor.
Oh, sure. So. I love this so much. And I just love that even like I can just see, and I hope that as people are watching this, that like just hearing you talk, like there's so much more. And I just, I could go on and on. I love every time I talk to you, I'm like, just keep talking. I think it's so beautiful because it shows, and this is something that I think is a theme that I have seen in these interviews I've been able to do, which I'm so grateful. We have incredible people. That like when we do, like it comes back to this thing that like our bodies are intelligent, and our bodies know if we could just listen. And that like the kind of getting back to like, I feel like we've just complicated so much. Because we get back to like food from the earth. It's like you said, it's able to like sustain us. And oh gosh, it gets me so excited and fired up. And I just love what you're doing. And I want to learn. I just want to learn so much from you because and it gets me excited too for people that like struggle with like eating healthy, which so many people I feel like struggle eating healthy because they just, I don't know. I mean, there's just so much to it. And I'm trying to stop myself because I feel like I could go on a really long tangent right now.
I could go on and on too. So yeah, it is. You know, it's a different conversation and people aren't used to it. And one other just quick thing about our sense of taste, and this is a good thing to kind of make you go, is that it's the only sense that requires a choice on our part. So you always hear things, you know, you can't choose whether you're going to hear the people in the next room. You can't choose if you smell smoke coming from the can, you know, like, but when there's choice involved, it also leaves this big open gap for a lot of knowledge and wisdom and people to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So we have this huge opportunity to be disconnected from our bodies and what we think our knowledge is. And that's a big missing piece of why we're not letting instinctive eating be a thing, because there's so much knowledge around it.
That's beautiful. I mean, it's almost like correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm hearing this like it's like this lack of mindfulness around eating. Like, is that the same, maybe separate thing, but just like everything, like even
that's
right?
Totally it. Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of conversations around mindful eating, which is awesome, but it's also not typically. It might involve like make sure you taste all the flavors. Like I've heard that kind of thing, but it's not really focused on breaking it down into what those flavors mean. So yeah, I love to kind of get kind of team up with the mindful eating communities as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's so beautiful. Like oh gosh, I feel like we need to have you back on because I feel like every one of these sentences, like we could have like an entire conversation about that one thing. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm curious, like with Flavor Remedy, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you work with clients now. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yep. So what I am offering at this point, and it's still in early stages, so it's kind of, you know, bargain pricing until I figure out, until I get it all nailed down. Yeah. But so I do work one-on-one with clients. And so that kind of looks like a 7-week program. It doesn't have to be right exactly out a week. You know, I work around people's schedules and stuff, but it's sessions that are built around, you know, focusing on those 5 flavors. And then we dive deep into, you know, kind of like the culture, your stories around food and everything. I also do, I'm planning some workshops. So some kind of experiential workshops, speaking engagements. I'm open to speak. Usually it's like a wellness community, you know, that really wants to hear what I have to say. And I do product development too. That's kind of another thing that it's actually a pretty big thing that I'm involved in, and it's usually what pulls me away. But I think I mentioned to you the Onco Bites that I'm creating. So
do you want to talk about that?
If you have time,
yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. I know.
Okay. And I don't have to go too far into it. It's really a cool opportunity that just kind of came my way because of when I was working my legendary spice booth at the farmer's market, I met a gentleman who moved to Colorado, who really he's been in the cancer business forever. And his best friend is an oncologist in Alabama. And they wanted to create these bites that are specific, like small. It's the opposite of what everyone thinks is like a health food, because it's high calorie. You know, it's really designed for cancer patients that are going through chemotherapy, that don't have an appetite, that are really struggling to even eat anything. They don't want to put anything in their mouth. So it's 3 small bites. They're high calories. They're full of functional herbs and spices, which is, you know, how he found me doing legendary spice. He really liked that. And, you know, it's really starting to gain traction. We have seen like Florida Cancer Center. There's a bunch of really big, you know, cancer centers that want to bring this in, and he's getting an opportunity to really speak and kind of answer the question, you know, I have cancer, what can I eat? And this is really kind of an opportunity for people to just get something that's unique, because it's not like all the bars that are out there. It's focused specifically on them. So so that's Onco Bites.
Cool. I love it.
that pulls me away sometimes from the flavor remedy stuff, but it's
Yeah,
and of course
sounds
that.
amazing. Well, I remember you saying too that it's, like the food that they're giving to cancer patients now, like in their chemo treatment, is just, I mean,
Well,
lacking nutrients.
well,
So
and oncologists and doctors are not trained in nutrition.
right.
So they're starting to recognize the need to pair with nutritionists and dietitians and people that have more knowledge, because the patients are asking the questions too, right? You start to your people are starting to wake up to the fact that food really matters and nutrition really matters, and what the doctors are doing is important, but it's not the whole picture. So you kind of have to
Right.
do that on your own.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, I could go off on that forever.
Me too.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm glad that it's so funny because it's like there's this trend now of like, people talk more about healthy eating, and we can tell when like these companies that make terrible food are like, trying to market it to be healthier. Like, hello, we've been doing this for like thousands of years. Like, this isn't like new information, but it's a good trend. So whatever
Right.
it takes, right?
Right. Right. And
Yeah,
there's so
yeah,
many trends. I mean, the trends of dieting, that's another reason why like I'm so
sure.
focused on this instinctive eating with flavor, because
Mhm.
I don't know how to navigate all the trends either. I've tried everything and like none of it feels in alignment. So it's really been this personal mission, right? Like talk about the thriving thing. That's what I see as thriving,
Yeah.
as me finding a way to eat instinctively, right?
Mhm.
Knowing, and you're always going to make choices and bad choices and eat things that, I don't know, you revert to what you know and what you're comfortable with. And then when you listen to your body and your body's like, I'm not digging this,
Right.
then you have a choice and you have an awareness and you can say, so
Mhm.
I want to thrive knowing how to best fuel my body,
Yeah.
and to do it in a trusting way without having to listen to all the noise and the trends. And
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And I'm sorry, when you're saying that too, it's making me think too about like the craving piece again. Like I see people craving junk, but like when you say like listen to your body, but then we're getting these like, would you say that would be like headaches or other symptoms that are, it's like your body,
oh,
no, this is not food and this isn't, or like,
right.
not being able to concentrate, or I mean whatever, like acne, like all sorts of things that could be your body saying like, hey, hello, like eat real food.
Yeah. All the things that we just kind of decided are, oh, it's just normal that I have all this gas. Oh, it's just
Yeah.
normal that my stomach's rumbling all the time. Oh, it's just normal. I get these headaches. All the things you just said, brain fog, I can't focus. I don't have energy. Like it's all your body saying, give me real food.
Yes.
And
Oh,
all the allergies, right? The allergies
yeah.
and the autoimmune issues and ideally, I think the people that will most likely be the clients that come to me the most are the people that are seeing that, first of all, that they have to rely on food and nutrition to get better, that their doctors are not enough, and secondly that chances are they've had to eliminate some of their favorite foods from their diets, and that's hard. There's a grieving process in that, especially when you don't if you don't know how to cook or even what whole foods are, right? So I don't teach people to cook. I have lots of friends that I can direct or help
Mhm.
with, but understanding the flavor and really the nutrition that should be behind it, I hopefully will create more long-term success, right?
Right.
You can always trust flavor, and you can always trust things that are going to point you in a direction that's joyful and delicious. Then you're going to stick with it longer.
Absolutely. And you're just going to feel good, right? Like your body's just like, yes, thank you. This is
Yeah.
what I've been asking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, it's something that it's so interesting because I feel like that's another thing that comes up a lot because, and something that like with my counseling clients that I see that like I'm constantly asking, and something I'm not saying I'm an expert in. I'm trying to work on that. I'm always trying to work on that myself, really listening to my body because our bodies are just so freaking amazing. Like it's incredible. Like I mean, we're able to like message like, I mean, to like bring it, I don't want to skew from like this topic of flavor, but even like within the mental health realm, like I always say, like depression is not a Prozac deficiency. Like depression is like your body's message that something is out of balance here. And so like if we could just all like listen to our bodies more, like it's just amazing, and use that. Like we're taught to not do that, right? We're taught to like, oh no, I'm like don't feel like, don't know, like just take a Tylenol for the headache or like whatever.
Right.
Sorry, I'm going off. I'm getting on a tangent.
That's okay. It's all relevant and yeah,
Yeah.
I totally. It's really listening to our bodies is a big piece that's missing.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think the food thing it has a lot to do with the fact that we have this big gap of choice, right? Of what we're putting in. And this big gap in that choice is all of this opportunity to be sold to be marketed to be, given professional slash not professional slash whatever, advice. There's so many things we have to filter through.
Right.
If you're not listening to your body, you're just going to keep moving from one thing to the next.
Right. Well, sure. Well, and like and I'm sorry, I hope this doesn't, I can hear my husband just walked in the door and I need him to get off Wi-Fi so our connection is better. Sorry. So, when you were saying, well, and just like you said, the recommendations, like I see, and I know this isn't necessarily in the concept of flavor, but like with that, like with my husband, for example, type 1 diabetes, he's told that like, oh, just drink diet soda. Or like, right, in nutrition, in a sense, like that some of, I mean, he doesn't, but like in the type 1 diabetic community, right, like just eat this fake sugar or, like, it is just, I mean, the recommendations these days, or just like in general, like the calorie thing.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna start the calorie thing.
Yeah. Oh.
And and it's hard because you have to, I mean, you feel obligated to listen to your doctor, right? But like I can tell you that when you go off on your own and you decide to be a little bit of a rebel and not listen to all that fear of fruit, and I don't have diabetes and I don't have anything serious that I need to, my autoimmune condition is what I kind of balance with food, and I have done a good enough job to be able to avoid medications for 8 years, so that's huge. But I can't speak to the expertise of what how to challenge a doctor's advice to drink diet soda. But I will say that in my studies of sweetness and health, and the body adapts. Like there's a lot of information out there to say that it still spikes your insulin. It still does stuff because your body figures it out. They're like, oh, well, this is a sweet flavor. This is, So it's very difficult to navigate all the advice.
Right. And there's so much.
We have to find our own body, right? We have to listen to our bodies.
Right. Well, and do you see that even? And I know, like, oh gosh, I really, can we do this again?
Yes. Yes. We don't have to overwhelm everyone. Because that happens.
Well, right. I mean, especially something like food that is, I mean, we all eat every single day, or like we should. And, when it is such a central piece of what we do. And like you said, like all the things that impact, I mean, it's emotional, and I mean, there's so much that's tied into it.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? Oh, I don't remember.
All the different things we could talk about, right?
Yeah, there's so much. But right, you're saying like it could be overwhelming, maybe because if we're like diving into that, even any one of these like little avenues we've talked about, I feel like could just like be an entire conversation. Right. It's so central to us functioning as humans.
Right.
And functioning well, and thriving. Well, Sherry, I honestly, like I said this in the beginning, every time I've talked to you, I just feel like I could talk to you for hours and hours. And I just love the work that you're doing. And I'm sorry. Oh, well, suddenly Siri thinks that I'm talking to her, not talking to her. She like had everything I was saying.
Siri might be close.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy. I'm almost seeing this it's like an intro to you and what you do. And if you're open to it, I'd love to have you back. And we have this amazing, you do this incredible thing that I booked myself too much today.
That's okay. we kind of knew that would happen. So it's okay.
I'm so sorry. But I'm wondering, and we can chat about this not live, but if that would be something that we could do together again, because I just think that your message is so important, and I want everyone to hear it. And I think what you're doing is beautiful and shouldn't be this way, but unique, right? Because it should be just out there. But yeah, I just think you have such a beautiful, I could see your passion and I just love it. And I wanna help spread this for you.
You.
So maybe we can chat about doing this again.
Yeah, maybe we could just do it in that whole, we could do a quick intro to the flavors and do a mindful
Cool.
eating exercise, and that could be it.
Awesome. I love it. Okay,
Keep it
cool.
focused. So.
Well, you all are in for a real treat because we're gonna get to see Sherry again. So thank you. We'll post in the comments where we find you. Is that okay? Is that okay? We can directly link to your page and where to follow you and all the things.
Yep. The best place is I have a Facebook group called The Salty, the Sweet, the Sour, and the Savvy. So we'll put a link to that on there.
Awesome.
That's really where, all the conversations are kind of happening and people are asking questions. And
Okay. Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Well, yes, be sure and check out the comments below, everyone. And thank you so much for being here. And you're adorable. I should have worn something fun. But thank you for your time and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you for all of your support and excitement. And it does me a lot of good to talk to people like you that get it and are excited about it because, there are days where I think people are going to think I'm nuts, but...
Well, if you ever think that, you just call me up.
Okay.
It's so important. That's why I do these. Why I want to do these interviews because I think people need, I want to spread these messages that all of you amazing, fill in the blank titles are doing to get back to what our bodies are capable of and designed and created to do. And that as if you've watched any of these before, anyone, that this is thriving and that I believe that we're all designed and created to thrive. And I want to connect people with people like you that are out there to help people thrive.
It's good stuff you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I can't wait to see you again soon.
Okay. Happy Halloween.
All right. Happy Halloween.